Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to the Czech Republic once again, and this is yet another of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip over there, so really looking forward to this one. Today we're going to go to a little town called Potštejn, which is kind of halfway between Prague and Ostrava over in the east, right in the middle of the two, and kind of just directly north of Brno actually, when I was looking at it. But for this one we're going to have a taste of my first beer from Pivovar Clock. So this one is called the Twist. It's a 14-degree American red IPA. The Czechs like to use the kind of degree thing for their beers, of course, so this one, it comes in at 6.2% ABV and it should be quite nice. The red IPA is a style that I've always enjoyed, of course, and this one is hopped with Citra and Centennial, so it should be a really quite interesting one. I've enjoyed the IPAs that I've had from the Czech Republic so far, and you know, it seems to be kind of like Belgium and Germany. These guys have got a really good kind of brewing heritage in the Czech Republic, and it's always interesting to see them put that to these kind of new wave American style of beers. So hopefully this is a good one. I'm sure it will be, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I think it had a 3.9 or so overall on Untappd when I checked it out, and I think it was like 91 or something like that on Rate Beer that it had too, so it should be a pretty interesting one. So yeah, so anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Pivovar Clock. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Czech beers that I've reviewed for you, and that will be added to over the next little while, and hopefully beyond that as well. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pivovar Clock then. So as I mentioned to you, Pivovar Clock are based in a little town called Potštejn, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope that I am, and they were founded back in 2013. So the brewery is run by Jiří Anders, Ivo Muthsam and Jakub Srča, and apparently they brewed their beers in another microbrewery back in 2013 before taking over their own building. But they worked to convert the building of the former Potštejn Chateau brewery, and they planned this new brewery to have a capacity of 2,500 hectolitres. But this brewery building that they converted opened in 2014, so apparently beer returned to Potštejn. The brewery kind of reopened after 100 years, which was pretty cool, and apparently it's been very, very well received by the locals as well. There's a pub and a restaurant on site. If you look at the pictures of this, it actually looks really quite nice and really quite modern, of course. But the brewery are focusing mainly on producing the new American style craft beers, and from what the folk in Czech Republic were telling me, these guys are one of the really good kind of American style breweries in the Czech Republic just now. So this, as I say, it should be a pretty good beer. In terms of the name, there's a clock tower pretty much right next to the brewery, so they like to say that they're brewing under the clock, hence why they called it this. I don't know if clock is the same in Czech actually, because I do find it quite strange when you go to some of these breweries in Eastern Europe and stuff like that. They use like Pivovar or Pivovarna or something like that, but then they use an English word next to it. I find that quite interesting, but these guys have just called themselves Pivovar Clock, and you know, maybe it is to kind of appeal to a sort of wider audience. So yeah, it's, you know, as I say, a highly rated brewery, so it is cool to be able to review one of their beers for you on the channel here, and it should be an interesting one. So that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to check out their website and stuff like that, that's in the video description below. I'll put their Facebook page there as well, and you can follow them. But they do have quite a few beers, these guys. They seem to use some, I noticed that they were using kind of base recipes as well, and sort of playing about with their regular range and experimenting with it, which is obviously very cool. But they do seem to be quite prolific in getting different things out there, so definitely one of the Czech breweries that you want to have a look at. Keep wanting to say check out when it comes to these beers, so pardon the pun there. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. I do like the artwork on this. I do think it's pretty cool. You can see the sort of the robot-y guy on this one. But yeah, nicely presented beer this. As I say, 6.2% American style red IPA, and it's Citra and Centennial that's in this one. It does tell you a little bit about the malts and things that are in it as well. But they're saying that it's a 60 IBU beer, and I think 14% original gravity. will be the thing with this. But yeah, best before the 1st of August 2018, so it's well in date. Plain bottle cap on this one as well, by the way. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. I really am quite looking forward to this one. Like I said, I really do enjoy the American Red IPAs. You can see there's a little bit of smokiness coming out at the top of that. So let's get it out and we'll get on to the last. A little bit of water in my glass there, so let's get it out. That's a nice kind of blood orange colour with this one. That'll do us for the moment, I think. So yeah, as you can see, this beer's poured. There's some nice red fruity notes coming off this just as you go into it. But as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice kind of dark, almost blood orange colour. If I hold this right up to the light, it's, yeah, definitely a nice dark blood orange colour. It's almost a little bit kind of coppery or something like that, or bronze, maybe not quite bronze, but definitely a nice kind of dark coppery colour there. There you can see there's a solid finger and a bit of a frothy, I would say kind of fawn coloured head on this one. It looks really nice actually. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see it is pretty much transparent, but yeah, really nice looking beer. There's 1 or 2 tiny little bits of sediment just floating around in this one, but that is to be expected from craft beer, of course. But yeah, nicely presented beer, or nice looking beer I should say. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, what I'll say about this one is, right away you can smell the influence of the citra hop. There's definitely a bit of mango in there. You can smell a little bit of the grapefruit as well. When you mix the citra with certain types of malts, you will get a little bit of grapefruit, so there is a wee touch of grapefruit in there. Mangoes definitely. I want to say there's a bit of orange coming out of that as well, which is interesting because from what, you know, they're saying that it's Citra and Centennial they've put in this one, but it almost does give you a little bit of the kind of tangerine orange that you could expect from Mosaic, because there is a little bit of a berry kind of quality coming out of the beer as well. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you try it. This one's definitely quite interesting. But yeah, definitely a bit of grapefruits. The mango's coming out from the citrus from the citra hop nicely. There's a bit of lemony citrus in there as well, which is the Centennial. I've always found that the Centennial gives you a bit of a kind of sherbety lemon, and you can pick that up in this beer as well. But yeah, it does smell nice. Take a little bit of time and enjoy this for yourself, honestly. But yeah, oranges. A little bit of lychee and gooseberry as well. Again, that's one of the kind of complexities that you can get from the citra hop. But yeah, a good bit of floral aromaticity to this one. Almost has a little bit of a spicy note. There's maybe a little touch of earthiness coming out of the beer as well. But in terms of the malt base, there's a bit of sweet caramel, a little bit of biscuit in there too, which is interesting. But definitely a nice sort of bready quality. It's got a slightly more kind of grainy malt base to it, this one, which is kind of what you expect of the red IPAs. It's almost got a little touch of a kind of rye aroma to it, which is quite interesting. You do red rye IPAs, of course, are pretty popular, or it's not uncommon, I would say. But yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of that before you get stuck in. It's definitely quite an interesting beer, this one. So let's have a taste of it then. So this is the Twist 14 American Red Ale, or Red IPA, sorry, from Pivovar Clock in Potštejn in the Czech Republic. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanje, skål, na zdraví. Ooh. That's nice. I like how this one kind of comes across actually. The malt base in this is really well done. That's good. What I'll say about this one, and I've said this about the other kind of Czech IPAs that I've had as well, what I really like about them is that they keep the malt bases, they tend to have that lovely Czech smoothness to them. You know, if you try Czech beers like the Late Six, the Tmavis and all of these sort of things, the Czech beers have a really distinctive, and it's almost like a kind of sweet, bready malt base to them. And they seem to carry that over into these IPAs that they're doing, and I really like that, because it's almost like giving you a kind of new sub-style, if you like. It's almost giving you a Czech IPA, if that makes sense. I really like that. And in particular, you know, with this being a red IPA, it will be a little bit more forward in terms of its malt flavour, but they've done it, you know, they have done it really well with that. I think particularly in this beer, I've had the Matushka Tropical Rocket, I had the Lucky Bastard India, and now I've had this one, and the other two were good in terms of that, but I think for me this beer sort of highlights it a little bit more. So if you try some Czech craft beers and you want to see what I mean when it comes to the IPAs and stuff like that, this is probably a good one to start with, because it really shows you what I mean about that kind of Czech smoothness in the malt base, and I really like that aspect that they put into their beers. But that is nice. I'll say about this one, I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. They've done a great job with that. It is quite different from the American brewed red IPAs that you're going to get. I would say the malt base in the American ones usually is a little bit sweeter. It usually has a little bit more caramel in it. But again, the way that this one comes out, the malt base in this one, it reminds me a little bit it has a little bit of that feel that you would get from a Czech Tmavy, if that makes sense. It has that smoothness, but that slightly kind of darker bready note. So it's an interesting beer, this one, I would say that. The flavour profile, of course, is different from the Tmavy, but the sort of feel that it has is kind of similar. But yeah, in terms of that malt base then, you can feel that nice bready quality just blanket the middle of your palate. It's almost like, it's not quite a rye bread, but it's not too far away from that. It's more like a kind of brown bready quality that just blankets the middle of your palate. On top of that, you can feel there's a little touch of a slightly more kind of grainy note coming out of this beer. As you go further and further into the aftertaste, you can feel there is a little bit of grainy bitterness coming out of this beer as you go further and further into it. There's a little bit of a sweet biscuity note there. There's maybe a little touch of a kind of richer caramel as well. But overall, the malt base is really bready and really quite smooth. It's just got this lovely smooth quality to it. So definitely check that out when it comes to this beer. It's really nice. Yeah. That's a good beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I love that. It was one thing I always loved about the Czech beers, and to some degree the Bavarian beers as well. The way that they do their malt bases in sort of Central Europe is really, really nice. And for me, this beer kind of hits the spot in terms of that. In terms of the hoppy side of this beer then, back corners the palate, you've got a little touch of earthiness in there. I do wonder if they're using some Czech hops as the bittering hops for this one, but then as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, you can feel there's a bit more of a kind of floral aromatic quality starts to come out of this beer. It's got a little bit of spice around the front corners of the palate, then around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. And then of course, just behind the front curve of the palate, that's where these nice kind of fruity esters start to come out of the beer, and that's where the fun begins. But yeah, with this one, the fruity side of things is quite interesting. So as I say, if you just go behind the front curve of the palate, you'll get that little oily bubble where those nice juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, there's a little touch of grapefruit just kind of forming the linchpin of that side of the beer. On top of that, you start to get a little bit of the mango from the Citra hop, and then as you go further and further into it, there is a little touch of an almost orangey flavour starts to come out of it. And as you go further into the aftertaste, it's a little bit of for me, it's a little bit of the kind of lychee note that's in there. The grapefruit and the orangey notes are kind of lingering there. They're the stronger fruit flavours in this one, but you start to get a little bit of the gooseberry and lychee flavours popping out of this beer a bit later on. But yeah, there's almost a little touch of a slightly red fruity quality to this one, a sort of, not quite berry, but maybe a kind of candied, I don't know if it's quite strawberry or something like that, but there is a little touch of a kind of candied red fruity flavour to this beer as well. But overall it is quite nice, and as you go, this beer, when it opens up a little bit more, I would say the malt base does start to become a little bit sweeter in terms of the biscuity and caramelly side of the things. But I mean, overall, it is just, you know, it's just a really nice, solid IPA. There's not, it's just very, very well done. And this is what I always find cool. I've said this about the German craft beers as well, and the Czech ones that I've reviewed so far. You know, when these countries that have such a good, you know, such a strong brewing heritage start turning their attention to different styles, it's always really cool to see how it turns out. Because like I say, this beer has a very traditional Czech malt base, but it has that nice big hoppy American thing that you expect from the IPA these days. So it's really cool to see these beers kind of coming out of places like Czech Republic and stuff. So big thumbs up to Pivovar Clock for this beer. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied. Carbonation is quite smooth on this one. Yeah, it's got a little touch of an oily mouthfeel to it, but overall it's quite a smooth beer, this one. Malt base, mainly quite smooth. As I say, it has that typical Czech smoothness to the malt base. A little bit of sweetness coming out of the malt base as well. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. It's 60 IBUs. You know, it's somewhere in the middle. It's not going to blow your head off as some of the IPAs and things can do, but then you've got a nice sort of, you've got a nice juicy fruity quality to this beer as well. The fruits are quite complex in this one, but it really does work very well. I do like how this beer kind of comes together. So as I say, a big thumbs up to Pivovar Clock for this one. They've done a good job of it, and it's certainly a beer that that fits into my kind of description that I've made of these IPAs before. It's got that Czech malt base to it, but then it's got that typical American hoppiness. So I think the Czech IPA, if you like, could become a sort of sub-style, and I think I said the same about the German IPAs that I reviewed as well. So big thumbs up to Pivovar Clock for this one. Hopefully I can try some more of their beers at some point in the future. It would be cool to try a stout or a porter or something on the dark side of the spectrum from these guys, but a lovely, lovely beer, and I'm certainly glad I was able to review this one for you on the channel. So let's leave it at that. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Pivovar Clock as well, and hopefully I can get a hold of a couple of their beers in the future and review more for you. But this one was the 14 Degree Twist, an American red IPA from Pivovar Clock in Potštejn, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in the Czech Republic. A lovely beer, and I'm glad that I got to review this. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I will catch you guys very soon, and you will see some more Czech beer reviews over the next little while. Stand just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Na zdraví.